No more hiding in the corners, no more playing small. There's a purpose deeply calling. Hear it stand up tall.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into something pretty fundamental, I think, for growth in almost any field. It's about taking charge of your own leadership journey.
Yeah, looking at practical strategies, real development, how to actively lead, really, no matter where you sit.
And for this deep dive, we've been digging into the stack of sources you shared with us. We're pulling insights from some pretty established leadership research. That 5 practices framework comes up a lot.
Right, the Kouzes and Posner stuff, but also some really hands-on activity guides, which were interesting. They sort of bring these bigger ideas down to earth.
Exactly. So our mission here is pretty clear. We want to pull out the key nuggets, the really important takeaways from all this material. We want you to feel more informed quickly about what makes an effective leader, and maybe more importantly, how you can actually start putting these ideas into practice, like right away.
Yeah, this isn't going to be some dry academic lecture, right? Think of it more like getting you up to speed fast on some powerful leadership concepts.
And seeing how they connect to actually building skills. We're just going to talk through what jumped out at us from your sources.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's unpack this framework you mentioned. Your sources really lean heavily on the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. Kouzes and Posner.
Yeah, it's a really well-known model, and the core idea is that it breaks leadership down into behaviors and skills you can actually see, observe.
And learn. That's the key part, isn't it? That it's learnable.
Absolutely. It's not some innate trait you either have or don't.
Okay, so let's list them out quickly. The 5 practices are 1, model the way.
2, inspire shared vision.
3, challenge the process.
4, enable others to act.
And 5, encourage the heart.
Right. So we'll kind of walk through each one, talk about what it means according to your sources, and maybe pull out some interesting bits, maybe even surprising insights or activities we found in there.
Great. Let's start with number 1, model the way. So what's the core idea here based on the readings?
Okay, model the way. At its heart, it's really 2 things. First, getting clear on your own values, like really figuring out what matters to you, finding your own voice.
Your authentic voice.
Exactly. And then connecting that to the shared ideals of whatever group or organization you're in. But the second part is critical. Setting the example.
The walking the talk part.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about your actions, consistently lining up with those shared values. It's not about being perfect. Nobody is. But it's about that integrity, that match between what you say and what you actually do.
That makes a lot of sense. And the sources got into some interesting areas here, didn't they? Linking it to self-discovery, exploring different kinds of power, emotional, physical, spiritual power. How does that fit in?
Yeah, that was interesting. I think the connection there is that how you model isn't just about your words or stated beliefs. It's how you show up, your presence, your energy. So understanding where your personal power comes from, beyond just your job title, helps you understand how you're influencing others when you're modeling behavior.
Yeah.
The big takeaway here is that actions, well, they really do speak louder. You show people through your behavior what's actually valued.
And that showing, not telling idea, one of the activities you flagged was fascinating, trying to copy a reflection in a mirror. What was that about?
Oh, right. That activity highlights something really crucial, maybe a bit subtle, about modeling. It basically shows that just seeing a good model, well, it isn't always enough.
Okay.
The real challenge is in interpreting what you see and then translating that into your own actions. It kind of forces you to think, okay, how might my actions as the model be seen? And how hard might it be for someone else to copy or understand them?
Wow. Okay, so it's not just being a good example, it's about making that example clear and understandable. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it adds a layer to it.
The sources also brought ethics into this. How did they use ethics discussions under Model the Way?
They used ethical scenarios, often quite tricky ones, to explore how groups of perfectly reasonable people can sometimes drift, end up in work situations where decisions get detached from reality, sometimes even causing harm. And that really just underscores how vital it is for leaders to constantly, consistently model clear ethical values, not just talk about them, because that sets the tone, the climate for everyone else.
So for you listening, this really boils down to more than just saying the right things, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's asking, how consistently are your actions showing what you stand for? Have you actually done the work to clarify your own core values?
And are you thinking about how those values show up in your everyday decisions, your interactions? It's that conscious reflection piece.
Okay, let's shift gears. Practice number 2. Inspire a shared vision.
Right. This is the forward-looking one, dreaming big, imagining possibilities.
And getting others excited to come along, appealing to their hopes, their aspirations, not just your own.
One thing that really came through strongly in the sources was this idea that the vision shouldn't just be the leader's idea dropped onto everyone else.
Yes, that was a key point.
Yeah.
Ideally, it's co-created, developed with the stakeholders. So it becomes our vision, something everyone feels a part of.
Which naturally makes it more powerful, right? More sticky.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the sources describe finding this vision as, well, almost an emotional, intuitive thing, not just a strategic plan.
Yeah, like a journey of self-discovery that leads to self-creation. That phrase really stood out.
It did.
Yeah.
It emphasizes that a truly authentic vision usually comes from a place of real passion and purpose. It's not just manufactured.
They had a neat activity for this too, didn't they? Imagining the future.
Oh, the newspaper headline one? Yeah, imagine it's 10 years from now. Write the headline in the stories celebrating your organization's or team's success.
I like that.
It's more than just wishful thinking, though. It forces you to visualize the end state and then work backward. What policies, what actions, what steps do we actually need to take to make that headline real?
Makes the future feel tangible. And they use some powerful historical examples too, right? Obama, Thomas Paine, George Washington.
Yes, snippets of speeches or writings to show how leaders use compelling language to paint that picture of the future and inspire a common purpose. It's about connecting emotionally.
So for you listening, the challenge here is, how well are you articulating a compelling future? Is it exciting? Does it resonate?
And crucially, how are you involving others in shaping that picture, making it something they feel passionate about too? What's that future headline you want to earn?
And what are you doing today to start writing that story?
Good questions.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, practice 3. Challenge the process.
This one sounds like it's about change, shaking things up.
It is, very much so. It's about actively looking for opportunities to improve, not waiting to be told, being proactive, looking outside the usual way of doing things for innovation.
And the sources are pretty upfront that this often involves discomfort, right?
Yeah.
Uncertainty.
Absolutely. Change isn't always easy. So to succeed here, the sources say you need to focus on initiating smaller steps, getting some small wins under your belt to build confidence and momentum.
Learning from mistakes is big here too.
Huge. Viewing mistakes not as failures, but as information, data to help you adjust and improve. And they talked about promoting psychological hardiness.
Which is basically resilience, bouncing back.
Pretty much. Staying committed even when things get tough or go sideways. Not giving up easily.
They had a great line related to this, something about the weakest muscle.
Oh yeah, the weakest muscle in the body is the one between the ears. That really hits home, doesn't it?
It does. It's about those self-imposed limits we put on ourselves.
Exactly. Fear is normal when facing challenges. But the key insight was about consciously reframing that feeling, that adrenaline, that pounding heart. Turn it from fear into excitement.
Which helps you push past the doubt.
Right. Frame it as energy to overcome the challenge. It's a mental shift.
The activities here seemed quite physical or simulation-based sometimes, like untangling knots or building things blindfolded.
Yeah, those were designed to make you experience the challenge directly. With the untangle the knot one, people often get stuck focusing on the knot itself.
Instead of how they're approaching it.
Right. Or with blindfolded builders, the realization often dawns that trying harder within the existing rules isn't enough. You actually need to change the process, the constraints themselves. Re-engineer the process, as they put it.
That shows how stuck in our ways we can get.
Doesn't it? And a really significant point under Challenge the Process was that leaders have to be learners.
Because you can't know everything, especially as you move up.
Exactly. So asking questions becomes crucial. It's presented as the key way to unlock opportunities and drive improvement. One activity was literally called When Questions Are the Answer.
Highlighting inquiry over just having solutions.
And that Case for Change activity, using that simple 4-box grid.
Right. Current problems, future problems if we don't change.
Current opportunities, future opportunities if we do change. It's designed to build not just an intellectual understanding, but an emotional connection. Feel the pain of staying put versus the potential gain of moving forward.
Makes the need for change more urgent, more real.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, maybe reflect on where you might be letting those between-the-ears limitations hold you back.
How can you practice that reframing trick? Turning discomfort about change into excitement about what's possible?
And what questions should you be asking right now to challenge how things are done? uncover those hidden opportunities for improvement.
Okay, moving to practice number 4. Enable others to act. This feels like the teamwork practice.
It absolutely is. The message from the sources is loud and clear.
Yeah.
Leadership is a team sport, not a solo gig.
Right.
So this was all about fostering collaboration by building trust and good relationships, and, importantly, strengthening others, enhancing their sense of control, their competence.
Building trust seems like the bedrock here. Did the sources offer specifics on how to do that?
Oh, yeah. They had a great list, actually. Things like being open about your own beliefs, admitting when you mess up.
Vulnerability, basically.
Yeah, asking for feedback, the good and the bad. Really listening, sharing information, not hoarding it, saying we can trust them, and meaning it.
And taking human moments. I like that phrase.
Me too. Making time for actual face-to-face conversation, even when it's faster to just email. And they also talked about creating a climate where people don't feel defensive.
How?
By using descriptive comments instead of judgments, paraphrasing to make sure you understood, asking clarifying questions, showing you genuinely care. Small interaction habits that make a big difference.
That's really practical stuff. And it reinforces that idea you mentioned. You can't just think you're the best and try to do it all alone.
No, the sources are really clear. Teamwork gets the best results, period. And leaders enable that by strengthening others, making sure people feel capable, competent, confident.
How do you do that?
Treating people like adults with respect. Giving them choices whenever possible. Designing jobs or tasks that offer some latitude, some autonomy. Letting people own their work.
The activity scenarios sounded like they really drove this home, like the manufacturing or vaccine distribution examples.
Yeah, they showed vividly how things fall apart when communication and collaboration break down between different teams or functions. Marketing not talking to sales, production ignoring finance.
It sinks the whole ship.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It shows enabling others isn't just about individuals, it's about the system, the relationships between people and groups.
There was another model mentioned here, the readiness to change model. What was insightful about that?
Ah, right.
Yeah.
That model suggests that when you're trying to help someone through a change, you can't just assume motivation is the only issue.
Okay.
You need to figure out where they are on the readiness scale. Are they not even thinking about changing yet, pre-contemplation? Are they weighing the pros and cons, contemplation? Have they decided and are getting ready to preparation? Are they actually doing it?
And the point is,
you need different approaches depending on their stage. You can't use the same strategy for someone who's already taking action as you would for someone who doesn't even see the need yet. You have to meet them where they are.
that's a really nuanced way to think about enabling others through change, not one size fits all.
Exactly. So for you to think about, how actively are you working on building trust with your team, your colleagues?
Are you truly empowering others? Giving them space, trusting them? Or are you maybe holding on a bit too tight?
And how do you approach conversations about change? Are you considering where the other person might be coming from, using that readiness idea?
Good self-reflection points. Okay, last one. Practice number 5. Encourage the heart. This sounds like the people part, the emotional pour.
It really is. It's about recognizing contributions, saying thank you, showing appreciation for good work, for individual excellence.
And celebrating. Celebrating values being lived out, celebrating victories, small and large, creating that spirit of community.
Yeah, the sources make a really strong case that doing extraordinary things is hard work. It takes effort, persistence.
And recognizing that effort is vital.
Absolutely. It keeps hope alive, keeps determination going, especially when things are tough. They say in winning teams, members need to feel like they share in the rewards. Leaders make a point to celebrate accomplishments, make people feel valued, feel like heroes even.
That class affirmations activity sounded really powerful, writing positive notes about colleagues.
It did. And the anecdote they shared about the student who kept those notes, treasured them right until the end. That just shows the incredible emotional impact of genuine, specific appreciation. It's not trivial.
No, clearly not. That's quite moving. And the gift strengths cult activity, what was the idea there?
That was about getting people to identify and share their unique strengths, building a collective picture of the team's capabilities. It highlights the value of knowing and celebrating what each individual brings to the table.
It makes everyone feel seen for their contributions.
Exactly. And the sources were quick to point out that this doesn't have to be elaborate or expensive. They actually suggested brainstorming low-cost or no-cost ways to recognize good behavior.
Like what?
Sometimes it's as simple as a sincere thank you, a specific compliment, a shout-out in a meeting. Acknowledging small positive actions, like someone handling a difficult customer well or helping a teammate. It's about being intentional.
So for you listening, how often do you intentionally pause to show appreciation, genuine appreciation for others' efforts?
How can you create more moments to celebrate? Milestones reached, values demonstrated, even just tackling a tough challenge together, building that positive spirit.
It keeps momentum going, doesn't it?
Definitely. Now, looking back at all five, what's really clear from the sources is that these aren't separate boxes you tick off.
No, they're interconnected.
Deeply, they reinforce each other, like modeling the way builds trust when you absolutely need to enable others to act.
And inspiring a vision gives people the why for challenging the process.
Right. And encouraging the heart fuels the motivation needed for all the others, especially when things get difficult. They work as a system.
That makes sense. And beyond those core five, the sources brought in other related ideas too, didn't they? Continuous learning came up again.
Yeah, the importance of ongoing reflection. Like that activity suggesting monthly follow-up questions after a workshop to keep the learning alive, not just a one-off event.
And understanding different perspectives, that leadership perspective model.
Right, analyzing why leaders and employees might see the exact same situation differently based on their roles, their pressures, what's important to them, seeing the bigger picture.
Emotional intelligence was another big one, explicitly linked to the practices.
Yes, competencies like self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, they're presented as the underlying skills that help you do the five practices effectively. Understanding yourself, understanding others, managing relationships.
It's foundational stuff. And networks, building diverse networks.
Crucial for learning, getting fresh perspectives, uncovering opportunities. They even had that networking quotient survey to get you thinking about the breadth and depth of your connections.
Plus some really practical skills popped up too, like effective listening techniques, how to delegate smartly, even tips for running virtual meetings better.
Yeah, all presented as tools that help you put these leadership practices into action, especially enable others to act.
So the thread running through all of this, really across all the sources, seems to be this idea that leadership isn't some mystical quality.
Not at all. It's framed consistently as a set of skills, of behaviors that can absolutely be learned, developed through practice, through effort.
Okay, so let's quickly recap this deep dive. Drawing from the sources you sent over, we've explored those five practices, model the way,
Inspire a shared vision,
challenge the process,
enable others to act,
and encourage the heart. And we've touched on these related threads: building trust, continuous learning, seeing different viewpoints, EQ, networking, appreciation.
all pulled directly from that material you provided.
And it's worth repeating, this isn't just for CEOs or managers, right?
Not even close. Whether you're officially leading a team, guiding a project, just trying to influence your colleagues, or even just managing your own career path, understanding and trying to apply these practices can make a huge difference.
It impacts your effectiveness, your growth, wherever you are.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up, here's maybe one last thought to chew on, something interesting from the sources. They draw a distinction between talents and strengths.
Right. Talents are seen as those natural patterns you might be born with, ways you think, feel, behave.
But strengths are where those talents meet knowledge and skills. And crucially, they're developed through practice.
So if leadership is this set of learnable skills and behaviors,
Then the question for you becomes, how consistently are you actually practicing your leadership talents? Those inclinations you might have to model, inspire, challenge, enable, encourage.
are you deliberately working to turn those inclinations into real, reliable strengths through conscious practice? Strengths that benefit you and benefit the people around you.
Something powerful to think about. We hope this deep dive gives you a solid foundation and maybe some practical sparks for taking charge of your own leadership journey based on the insights from our sources.
In the quiet of the morning, before the day takes hold, a silent whisper stirs a story, waiting to unfold. You've carried burdens, doubts like shadows, heavy on your mind, but a strength you've always harbored now is rising to define. No more hiding in the corners, no more playing small. There's a purpose deeply calling. Hear it stand up tall. Feel the tremor deep inside your soul. A sleeping giant ready it may twist and turn with challenges unseen, but every step you take now shows the leader you have been. For inspiration lives within you, a compass strong and true, to guide not just your own direction, but to light the way for a few. No more hiding in the corners, no more playing small. There's a purpose deeply calling. Hear it stand up tall. Feel the tremor deep inside your soul. A sleeping giant ready to take control. Awaken vision, let your spirit rise and ignite. Be the beacon, lead them forward into the light. It's not about the crown you wear or titles you acquire. It's the heart you bring to service, setting every soul on fire. With empathy and courage, a vision clear and bright, you don't just walk the journey, you illuminate the night. Feel the tremor deep inside your soul. A sleeping giant ready to take control. Awaken vision, let your spirit rise and ignite. Ignite the beacon, lead them forward into the light, into the light. The leader in you rising, guiding them forward into the light.